Well, thanks for coming, everyone. If you haven't been before, we have a great selection of speakers today. We have five speakers at each event. This is our fifth Garden Talks. So we have three speakers, then we have a break with some food and drinks. So kicking off with the first speaker, we have Ryan from Royal Tunbridge Wells Landscapes, someone we see on a daily basis. Always makes us smile. So Ryan, please kick off and introduce yourself, what you do, where you're from, and who you are, sir.
Hello there. So yeah, my name's Ryan from Royal Tunbridge Wells Landscapes, local company in the area. Um, yeah, how do we start off? Was that the question? How do we start off? Um, I was working with other people, working with other landscaping companies, and realizing our potential, what we could do as a company. Decided to go out on my own and start like that. So yeah.
Where are you based, and where did you start off? What area was you sort of predominantly in when you started?
Well, I was in Tunbridge Wells when we started, but I was over in Surrey when I was born and raised over in Surrey. So I was working with a couple of companies over there, and yeah, ventured over this way, not too far.
And was you before you got into landscaping? Was you working for another different landscaping company? At what point did you decide to start your own landscaping company?
So yeah, I was working with other landscaping companies before, and running their projects, and then yeah, I decided to go out on my own, seeing what I could do better with the clients. What we could do better with the clients, and working with them, really listening to them, and being able to achieve the nice quality we get.
So, what would you say, Ryan, sets you apart from other landscapers in the area? What are you most passionate about when doing your work and dealing with clients?
What sets us apart is, again, like I said, just really listening. Listening to what the client wants, what their needs are. Working with that budget and getting as much as we can for that budget within their garden. I mean, what sets us apart is the processes we put in place. Looking after people when they turn up. From the initial meeting where we meet them at their property to handing over our quotation, winning that project, doing the work, and then leaving. To the whole place.
Brilliant. And we haven't introduced this man
No,
here.
no.
Hello, JB.
Hello. Oh, I got a microphone as well. Hello.
He's sitting
Hello.
on it. Um, please introduce yourself, JB. What is your role in Royal Tunbridge Wells Landscapes?
What is wrong? Well, my name's JB. I'm Jonathan Bocott, but JB, everyone calls me that, even my kids. And I met Ryan a couple of years ago, purely through an advertisement for some admin support. But previously, I was a chartered quantity surveyor by profession. So I was chartered with the RICS. I was also a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, and I ran a claims and dispute resolution consultancy for about 20 years. And I ended up growing that, selling it, getting out just before COVID, and I was looking for something else to do. I didn't really want to get back into quantity surveying, but I've sort of fallen into it. But when I was with Ryan, what I was tasked with doing was like some admin support. But with that, you could see that there were lots of areas within the company that you could look and you could improve upon in terms of like the business and the management function. And so I took my business experience and then I tried to sort of set up systems, processes where we could actually improve what we do. So I knew that Ryan always did a really, really good job. His emphasis was always on quality. And that was something that hit me from the start, because I didn't really want to work with anyone who was flaky or who couldn't do a good job. But Ryan always did a good job, and he always talks about the quality of the materials, the quality of the specifications. So I thought, great, this is someone we can work with. So my job then was to try and up my game to make sure I can get things working for his company as effectively as possible so that we can manage cash flow, we can forecast how the company is going to grow, we can introduce better systems for the company, cost value reconciliations on projects, so I could bring all my QS knowledge into this company and help it grow.
One of the things that Ryan you spoke about that sets you apart are those processes. So is there one process that you'd recommend that every landscaper designer business should implement?
I would.
Which
Well,
one? What's the one
let's take
process?
first. I would say, well, as a quick one, which is do a timesheet. If you don't do timesheets, how do you know what you're doing in your company? The second one I'd also have is like, if you're running on a project, is make sure you're doing cost value reconciliations throughout the project, because how do you know how much you're making, how much progress you've actually achieved through a project, unless you're monitoring that as you go along? You don't want to get to the end of a project and find that you've burnt all your money and you're going to make a big loss. You've got to know that exactly where you are each week, so that if there's remedial action to be taken, you can do it in your control of the process. If you don't do that, you're just flying blind, basically.
Okay, so Ryan, then what are your priorities when you're running projects?
To keep JB happy by the sound.
So timesheets.
The thing is, like Jay was talking about, all of these processes is, I've always wanted these. I always wanted these. When I started the company, I've always had this idea of, how do we track this? How do we track our time? How do we track our cash? The next thing is cash flow. All of these things I always wanted, but how to implement them, not my game. My game is on the project. So, how do the process on site work? It's that thing I do know. That's something I do know. JB works out the timesheets and I do everything else. But working out on site it's all about your management of your team, all about your management of where your material is going to be. Where make sure it's very clear what you've priced for and what the client understands. And it's making sure that's very clear. And once you've got that, then you can roll the punches. And it's the process of working with all different aspects, the weather, all different things. So keeping it in check.
How do you communicate that effectively to JB? Or JB, are you going out on site to view the work, and are you in constant communication throughout that project? What are the steps?
Well, that's like JB said, our timesheets. So we do communicate quite a lot, but
What is on them timesheets?
Cool. Can't give you away those secrets.
Have we got a projector screen?
He said before this talk, he's saying, JB, I don't want you talking about timesheets.
That's what I said.
I was going to get one.
Straight into the timesheet.
Sorry, Ryan.
No, yeah. I mean, so that information is, like the team are doing this week. We've got a few extras on our project this week, and I'm here today. The guys have their set timesheets that have that simple information, which is the property, what material they're going to be working with, and if there are any changes. And if within that day, if there are a change, all the guys are working on extras.
Noted.
Yeah, it's noted on that day, so it can be priced accordingly. And if there is any question with the client that says, oh, how comes I've got this bill, we can go back and go, well, this team member was on it, this team member, that team member was on it, and it can be priced accordingly. So it's very transparent. It's very.
But I think also I can add to that, it's like, it's not just that communication, it's also some of the information that you get through. So if you're monitoring your costs and your value each week, you're going to start to see how much labour time has been spent. And if you're monitoring that against your budget, immediately you know. So if if you spent 200 hours and you should have only spent 100 hours at the end of that period of time, there's a problem. So I'm going back to Ryan and saying, Ryan's, what's happened here? And that generates a conversation which might be, are we being inefficient? Or is it the fact that there's been some client changes which we need to pick up on, which we need to go back, which could be, a source of, legitimate additional money? Or is it something where we just need to go, hang on, let's change this. We're not doing this right. But, you start to see where the problems can come from, and then you have the communication.
That's it, and the thing is, from that you can build. So, I mean, we're looking at timesheets that were from when I first started, because I started with written timesheets. This is what I was doing when I turned up doing a JB turn. I said, look, I'm doing the written ones, and he's like, let's have this on a system. Once we put it onto the system, then we have that information to go back and go, right, where were we profitable on the project, where weren't we, and why? So when we can build ourselves in, so we can be effective in our pricing as well as get it right.
I think it's brilliant. You're a small landscaping team. How many of you on site?
We have 5 of us, including 6 of us, including Louis.
Yeah,
But,
JB in the background, because it's hard for people without JB, doing all that stuff, trying to do all that stuff yourself and teach yourself doing that
But
stuff.
that's it, and the thing is, I've always wanted it in place. So that's the thing. I'm sure there's a lot of people do different things, but the people I used to work for in the past, I would ask about these systems and what do you mean? And it's like, you not putting these in place? So, you know, it was at the forefront of what I wanted to do, make sure these systems are in place. So having JB there to, you know, agree on, yes, we do need them systems, let's get them in place. I can continue with the team on site to make sure there's high quality still going on, because I find that, you know, I mean, even myself, I could understand why any quality would drop if I was having to go and put these systems in place. Not my strength, but knowing that I need to be in and being able to be on site, keeping that quality there is, yeah, it's worked.
But sorry, there was one thing you mentioned. I think that's a very important part. The fact that if you've got lots of these companies with like sole directors and people on their own running them, I've got the utmost admiration for
Yeah,
everyone who
same.
does that, because there is so much work that you have to do.
Mm.
And seeing what Ryan does in terms of, you know, the quality of his work, and also seeing the quality of some of the other guys and the work that they do, it's amazing. And then they've got to go back, they've got to go out quoting, they've got to try and work out cash flow management, they want to try and do their forecasting for the year ahead. There's an awful lot of work that these people do. And I was lucky enough with my old company that I had a business partner, so he would do more sales and marketing, and I would do more sort of like, you know, the financial management.
Timesheets.
Yeah, timesheets. And you know, it was a really helpful split. But when you're on your own, there's a, you know, a lot of kudos to you guys for doing that.
Completely agree, mate. So Ryan, obviously you're super passionate as well about your workforce. So do you instill these processes? So when you know you're onboarding people,
Yeah.
do you talk through all this stuff? And
Yeah. You know, we work for Royal Tunbridge Wells Landscapes, all of us. You know, the thing is, this is not just my company, my name. We work for this process. This company has its systems in place, so we all work to them. So yeah, I make sure the guys on site, the team on site, are well informed, and there are if there is something done on site, it's like, well, okay, well, where's the system? There should have been this system in place. Yep, now follow that.
yeah,
You know, so yeah, I do instill it on them, absolutely.
I've been onto your sites, mate. It's like an army camp.
Yeah.
But I love how organised it is.
Well, yeah, we do like to keep organised. You know, we definitely do. It's all about the 7 P's: prior preparation, planning prevents piss poor performance. So, you know, it kind of works like that. But you know, the team I have, you know, we work together on the basis that we're implementing these systems because it makes our lives easier. Because yes, you know, maybe an army situation, but you know, we do have a good crack. We do have a
Yeah.
laugh. You know, you know, there's times where neighbours have put their head over the fence, thinking, God, these guys next door, they're laughing all day. You know, they're having so much fun, laughing. They must not have had anything done. They look over and go, oh my goodness. It's like, well, yeah, it's because we really enjoy what we're doing, and the characters, you know, the characters that work out in landscaping. It's, you know, we want to have a good time, but as well get the job done. You know.
And the guy, if correct me if I'm wrong, but the guys that you have on site and in your workforce, that all didn't have a clue about the landscaping sector when they started, and that's what I sort of love. You know, watching you do is really training them people up on site and taking
Yeah.
the time to train them up on site.
Yeah, I mean we've had some great characters come through, and you know Squeaks is now out in Australia. He's working out there, but he was a PT beforehand. Didn't know too much. I met him in Bibra Ridge. He was with his friends over at Bibra Ridge. And I was looking for someone at the time. I couldn't find anybody, and these guys were looking over at Bibra Ridge. I thought, what a lovely thing to do, sit looking at the ridge. You could be down in the town messing around, but no, they were sitting there looking at the view, and I thought I'd stop and ask. And I said, "Did anyone want a job?" And a year and a half later, he was still with me, and he was laying slabs, and now he's doing stonework in Australia, and he's taking them systems with him, which is lovely to see. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, we've got another team member, Ollie. He's worked with me for about 3 years now. He's only 22, but you know, he's got he's got great skill, you know, to do some really good finish work. But he's learned from the bottom up, so he can do, you know, now he's starting to do the finishing work to such high detail. It's not that he can do it to the high detail. He knows that high detail is going to stay there because he knows underneath the fundamentals underneath. So, you know, yeah, I take great pride in that. I really do, because it's lovely to see him grow.
It shines through, mate. So what are your plans for the business over the next sort of 2 or 3 years? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, what we're looking to do in the next couple of years, the company was set up to produce a high end landscaping, and what we're doing more and more is working more and more with landscaping designers, which is lovely to see. So we're going to continue down that road, and keep putting these systems in place for that to happen.
I think also to add with that, I sort of see this. So, you've got the usual sort of growth plans for a company. So you'd have all those. So you want to set better, introduce project planning and things when the projects are going on. But I think there's a bigger thing as well, which is like you want to try and essentially in this landscaping industry, we're like custodians of the environment to some extent. So we want to make sure that we're always working in in an ethical way. We're working in a sustainable way. We're using right materials. We're also trying to encourage people into the industry as well, because there aren't enough. I came from the construction industry, which was terribly misogynistic, and we have an opportunity here to try and open that up so you get people all ages, all genders, every ability to try and come into the industry. And we want to encourage that. I mean, we advertised for people recently to work for us, and it was surprised there was not one lady who applied. And we need to open that up. There needs to be opportunities for everyone, and we can do that because you're in a company which, we set the policies basically.
Yeah.
So we need to look after the environment. We need to grow. We need to actually make this and work in a collaborative way with a whole load of other ones. I never see things as competitive. It's got to be collaborative,
Yeah,
and the
totally
more we
agree.
can do that, the better. Our goal is to make things better for people, do it with a smile on our faces, and just enjoy what we do, because we have a love for it and we have a passion for it. And he produces really good work, and I produce a good spreadsheet.
Brilliant.
Okay, final question, because everyone is going to want to know this. How did you manage to train your dog to be the sixth member of the team?
Well, yes, that's a very good question. Very good question. He is just brilliant. He is great. I mean, I've had him since he was a pup, and we've always had dogs around us myself, growing up on the farm. So, having a dog with me with no leads, being able to, we had someone the other day looking at the job, and when we came out of the job, all three of us walked out. The dog got to the curb and just sat down. We walked out chatting, got everything ready, and then we looked across the road, the traffic, said, "Yep," then he just walked across the road into the van, and this person just stopped and was like, "I cannot believe I've just watched that." And I'm thinking in my head, well, actually, it's funny because about a month ago, I was on a project and we were just started. And that day, one of the team members fell ill, so he wasn't in on the Monday. And it was just myself and Louis. And I was taking a deck apart, and I thought, "God, how am I going to do this on my own?" I thought, hang on a minute. So I cut the deck between the joists and handed Louis the timber. I said, "Louis, put that on the van for me." And by the time I cut the next one, he was back staring at me. So we unloaded all this decking onto the van. you know. That's it. I have to do them.
There was one thing I was going to say with that. I think you probably asked the question. Yeah, you asked the question the one way round. Actually, Louis trained Ryan.
Absolutely. But yeah, so yeah, he is a definite big part of the team. Big part of the team he is.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.